Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, I'm going to create an ASP.NET Core Web API, and then I'm going to run two instances of that API. Then I will implement the health check endpoints for that API that is going to be used by YARP reverse proxy and load balancer. So for that, I have Visual Studio open. I will go to File, then New, then Project. Then I will select ASP.NET Core Web API. I will do Next. And here for the project name, I will give it a name. It's going to be my API endpoint. And then I will do next. I'm targeting .NET 10. And then for the configuration, it will be the same. So I will go ahead and do create. Our API project has been created. I will close this tab. Then I need to create two instances of that API. So to do that, I need to add two profiles. So I will go to properties. Then I will go to the lens settings.json. Then here I will add two profiles. So the first profile is going to be instance 1 and the second one is going to be instance 2. So each profile here has its own application URL. So the instance 1 has the URL localhost 5001 and the second instance or the second profile is going to have localhost 5002. So also we have an instance name. For the instance 1 we have API 1 and for the second instance name we have API 2. So this value is going to help us to distinguish which instance is running and which instance is healthy and having more traffic. So with that in place, I will save this file. Then I will need to run two instances of that API. So to run those instances, so I have here a PowerShell console. So it's pointing to my project directly, which is my API endpoint. So I will run this command here, which is going to set the name of the instance. So I have here environment instance name, which is API1. And then I will need to run the instance by running this code over here. So I have a .NET, then the path to my DLL. And then here I'm specifying the URL, which is 5001 for the first instance. So here I'm going to run that. Perfect, our first instance is running, is listening on the port 5001. Now we need to run the second instance. For that I have my second PowerShell console, so I will go ahead. And then we need to run the instance by using this code again, which is the .NET and then the path to the DLL and then the local host with the port 5002, which is the second instance. I will run this. So now we have two instances of that API is running. So the next step is to add the health check endpoints in the program.cs file. So I will open the program.cs file. So here I need to implement this simple code over here. So here I have the health checks service, which is going to return app is running, which means that the application is running and it has a tag live. So it's simple. And then we are going to add another service for readiness, which is going to check if the application is ready to receive traffic. So this is another add check. So it has the name app ready, and also it returns ready when the application is ready, and it has a tag ready. After adding the health check service, now we need to add two endpoints. Here I have the map health checks, which is an endpoint that is going to be used by a reverse proxy to check if the application is running. And also I have another endpoint here, which is health/ready, which is going to be used also by the reverse proxy to make sure if the application ready to get traffic. And finally, I'm going to add our endpoints that is going to be targeted by the load balancer to run the instances. So this is the simple endpoint, which is the API/demo, and it's going to return this data, which is the name of the instance, and then the date time. So I will save that. So in the next lecture, we are going to build YARP reverse proxy to see how we can use it to send traffic to different instances. Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to create YARP reverse proxy and load balancer that is going to send traffic to different instances that we created previously in the previous lecture. So for that, I have Visual Studio open. I will create an empty project, which is going to be an ASP.NET Core empty project. So I will go here. I have File, New Project. Then I will select ASP.NET Core empty. Then I will call it load balancer. Then I will go ahead and do next. Again, I'm targeting .NET 10. I will keep the same configuration and I will do create. Perfect, our project has been created. So now I need to go and install the Nugget package that we need for our reverse proxy. So I will close this tab. Then I will do a right click on the project. Then I will go to manage Nugget package. And here I will browse yarp.reverse proxy. Here I will select the YARP reverse proxy here and then I will install it. I will do apply. then accept. Perfect, our YARP reverse proxy Nugget package has been installed, so I will close this tab. Then we need to go to the program.cs file and do some configuration there. So I will open up the program.cs file here. So here I need to register the reverse proxy service. So I will go ahead and paste this code over here. As you can see here, I have the reverse proxy service, and also I have load from config, which is a method that is loading the JSON configuration that is living in the applicant.json. Also, we are adding here a health check service. And then we need to add an endpoint for our reverse proxy. So I will go ahead and remove that and paste this code over here. So this is a simple endpoint. It's saying YARP load balancing is running. And then we added a map health check endpoint. And also we added a map reverse proxy. Perfect. So with that in place, we have all the configuration for the program.cs. I will save that. I will close the file. Now I need to configure the load balancing port. So I will go to properties. Then length setting.json. Here I have two profiles. I will remove HTTPS profile. And then here I will keep the HTTP profile. And then I will replace this port with 7000 port for the load balancer. So I will save that. And then I will close this file. Now we need to do the configuration for our reverse proxy load balancer. So for that, I need to go to app.setting.json. And then I will remove this default JSON object. I will paste this configuration over here, and then I will explain this configuration, what it does. So for the routes, we have the weather route, which is the name of the route. And then we have the cluster ID, which is the weather cluster. As you can see here, the weather cluster ID is the same as the weather cluster that we have under the clusters here. So perfect. So we have the cluster ID, and then we have the match. And here in the path, we have the catch all, which means that YARP is forwarding all the incoming requests. Then we have the clusters. We have one cluster here, which is the weather cluster. So here the load balancing policy is round robin, which means YARP distribute the requests by the API one by one. And then we have the health checks. It has the property available destination policy, health or panic. That means we are forwarding traffic to the healthy instance only. And then we have the active and the passive. So for the active, we have it's enabled to true, which means that YARP is periodically sending requests or traffic to the healthy instance. And this is the interval, which is 2 seconds, and waiting for 1 second for the response. And then we have the policy and then the path, which is this endpoint over here, health ready. So also in the passive, YARP is watching the failure of any instance and mark it as unhealthy. And here we have the metadata, which is one failure is enough to mark that instance as unhealthy. And also the transport failure rate health policy. So it has a rate limit, which control how sensitive passive health check are to failure. And then lastly, we have destinations. So we have two APIs instance. The first API, which is API 1, under the port 5001, and the second API 2 under the port 5002. This is the configuration for our YARP load balancing. So I will save that, and then I will run the YARP load balancer. Perfect. So our load balancer is up and running. As you can see, YARP load balancing is running. So now let's do a test. So I will do slash then API/demo. So the instance API 2 is running. So if I refresh the page, so I can see that the API Y, which is the instance number 1, is getting the traffic. So if I keep refreshing, we can see that the load balancing is splitting the traffic between the two APIs. Perfect. So it's working fine. So I will go ahead and stop one of the instances here. So I have the instance number 2. I will stop that. Perfect. It's stopped. Now let's see the load balancing, how it's going to react. Perfect. As you can see, I'm refreshing, but it's going only to the healthy instance, which is the API 1. So if I keep refreshing, I will not see the instance number 2, which is API 2. So if I go back and then run the instance 2 or the API number 2, so I will go ahead now and refresh. So we can see now the traffic is going through the both instances here. So we can see that the traffic is working. Perfect. So this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching.